All right, everybody, it is time for a little follow-up video on the Cox Arms 13.7 Hunter.
Vader.
Welcome back, Lead Slingers. Today we're going to be doing the follow-up video on the Cox Arms 13.7 Hunter right there. We're going to be talking about all the good, the range performance, if there's anything I would change on this little green monster right here. We're from butt stock to the business end here. Let's talk about what the Cox Arms rifle comes with. Like I said, this short version. And first off, everything on the Cox Arms rifle that comes from the factory is going to be USA made and USA sourced. Starting out back, that butt stock is going to be the Mission First Tactical. It's a very minimalist stock. Some people really love it. Cuts down on overall size, cuts down on weight. You're also going to have a standard buffer tube in there with a Springco mid-weight spring and an H buffer to kind of calm things down. Your end plate will be properly staked in two places. The upper and the lower are going to be 70-75 T6 aluminum, which I think most of us would expect, especially since it's got some looks to it. You're also going to have a Mission First Tactical pistol grip on it that has a reduced angle, much more comfortable for the modern shooting style. You get an ambidextrous charging handle and ambidextrous safety, which is a short throw, but you can change it to 90 if you're in that thing, if you want to be a square. You'll have a 13-inch rail out front with pick all the way across the top, and then 3 lines of M-lock in those kind of normal, like 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock positions, and plenty of venting in that rail. Now it's time to get deep into those guts because I know that's where you really want to be. It's going to have a ballistic advantage barrel in there, 4150 chromoly vanadium. Those are sub-MOA barrels. They're a little gassy in my testing, but you do have an adjustable gas block on here, which is going to help you tune this thing to your liking. You'll get an enhanced bolt and carry group in there. It's got less friction areas and some weight in different places. For the bang switch, you're going to have an ELF SOCOM style trigger that's adjustable from the factory, set to about 3.5 to 4 pounds. Now everything inside, as far as the springs and the detents, are all going to be stainless steel. And now for my spec commandos out there, I would never forget about you. Here is that spec sheet that you want to see with that personally chosen elevator music. All right, so let's talk about some of the nice touches on this rifle, and then we'll get into the performance now that it's well over 1,000 rounds. One of the first things you're going to notice, it's definitely a looker. There's really nice machine work going on in here. Just very well done. Nothing overly ornate like some of the SLR stuff, but just some really good looks. And that machine work is top notch. You'll get an integral trigger guard in there, which I love. You got nice, big, thick glove bevels everywhere. So if you're wearing thick gloves, it's nice and cold out there, not a problem. Like I said, she's got some looks to her. The machine work is all top notch. And I know looks aren't everything, but I've really never heard anyone say, gee, I wish my significant other was just a little bit less attractive. You'll get a little bit of flare on that mag well, which is going to help you exchange mags like a boss out there on the range when you're using a shot timer. And overall, the thing just has a nice, clean look to it with a little bit of taste. And one of the best things is just how smooth it is. Everything from the takedown pins to the safety and that charging handle. So it has a very smooth feel. And that was right out of the box from the first time I touched it all the way through all the rounds I have fired. Well, it's time for that range performance, reliability, and the boo-boo that I made, which does require some explanation. So I got it on the range. This was the final day of filming for the follow-up video on this. I got through my first few hundred rounds. I think it was like 8 or 9 mags in. And then all of a sudden I had a malfunction. I just had a failure to feed. And then I fired a couple rounds and I had another one. And then I had a third. So I was like, something's wrong here. I haven't had an issue with this in well over 1,500 rounds, like almost 2,000 rounds. I hadn't had a single problem. So I thought something was maybe wrong. So I began to take it apart and I quickly realized I had made a big mistake. So as I had cleaned this after the prior range trip, I left it bone dry so I could take some photos and video of the small parts in there, and I put it away with forgetting to lubricate it. So once I got like 300 plus rounds in, she started to choke up a little bit. Remember, lubrication is important. You can't just go jamming things where they don't belong if you're not going to lube it. So being a prepared person for range mishaps, I went ahead, threw some lubrication on there, and I got back to work. As you can see, once I did what I was supposed to do, which was, lubricate the moving parts of your rifle, it ran like a top, and I did not have a single issue the entire rest of the day. When it comes to the recoil, it is very easy to run out there on the range. So between that adjustable gas block and H buffer and a spring, you're not gonna have any problems once you get it set to where you want it. As you can see by the ejection pattern on this thing, it's set for a suppressor, but still runs with a very nice ejection pattern, almost right on the line of where it's a little under gas. So I could probably up it a little bit and still feel just as good, but between the brake and everything going on in the back end of this thing, runs like a top. And now for the accuracy, because I know somebody's gonna ask for it, well, it's really up to you, because if you're doing this kind of stuff and yanking this kind of stuff, it's only gonna be as accurate as you. So between the B.A. Hansen barrel and how tight this thing is, if you're not accurate, it's probably not a rifle thing, it's probably a you thing. And when it comes to that fit and feel, this thing is tight. There is no wobble between this upper and the lower receiver. There is one of those tension screws in the back right here, but I haven't had to set tension on it because it's just firm from the factory, which is very nice. And like I said, ultra smooth on not only the pins, but the action when you're working that thing. So well done overall on that. And the last thing to say about the reliability of it, as long as you keep it lubed like you're supposed to, it's gonna run fine. In fact, this thing has become my quick access bedroom rifle. So it sits in my master bedroom in my quick access safe when I'm sleeping at night, should I ever need to go for it. All right, so knowing all of that, is there anything I would change? Because nothing's ever perfect and nobody gets a pass here on the channel. And I'm going to say yes, there are a couple things that I would change on here, but I think it's really kind of nitpicking. It's because I have some preferences and some biases that I like on rifles. And the first thing is going to be the trigger. Now that ELF SOCOM style trigger right there, it is good. It is a very nice trigger, but it's not a blackout defense trigger. And as most of you know, and if you don't know, there is just nothing that compares to those blackout zero reset triggers. And I think cost wise between the ELF and the blackout, I think you'd probably be cost neutral going with the blackout. About the only other thing that I would change would be the gas block in here. So even though it is an adjustable gas block, it's really not adjustable out in the field unless you've got some really long Allen wrenches with you, because there's a set screw in the front that you screw in, which closes down some of the gas port. And then you have to, set another set screw on the side into that one. So it's just not very user-friendly in the field. So I would love to see something like a Superlative or even Aero Precision has a great adjustable gas block that is very, very budget friendly. And I think that would be kind of the coup de grace, the thing that would really make it nice, because if you control the gas up front, you don't have to worry about weighting it up in the rear end with springs or buffers. So you can, save some parts. Your gas rings won't wear out as fast. There's not as much violent force going on in the bolt and carrier group. And you spend less money because those H buffers have more tungsten weights and they're just a little bit more expensive. So the gas block would be solid. Other than that, the furniture, that's kind of a wash, because some people love it, some people hate it, some people have their own. And I don't think anyone's ever going to give you the perfect setup with all the furniture you want right out of the box. So again, kind of a wash. All right, let's quickly go over how I have this thing outfitted right here. First up, you can see I have that Holosun 503G, but this one has that primary arms ACSS kind of Vulcan style reticle, and it has the BDC thing in there. So it's got the dots for your bullet drop compensation. And then behind it is the primary arms Pegasus ACSS 3 power, which is cool because you not only get to make really good use of the BDC points in there, but you've got ranging capabilities in that 3 power. So that's pretty awesome. Primary arms is really doing some awesome stuff when it comes to reticles and all that. Some people love that chevron and those ACSS reticles. Moving up front, I've got the HRT light there, that ODM switch on the back. So it's multi-directional, does everything you want. That's a big one. It is a monster when it comes to lumens and candela. And then just an SLR barricade stop right there. It's nice, it's simple. You can get your hand on it. You can use it for that barricade. You can use that for a little hold if you're, you don't have a much area to get on. when you're shooting off of something supported. So overall, I didn't feel like I needed to just plaster stuff all over the rail on this one. Like I said, it's a safe queen in my room should I ever have to go for something quick. But I just didn't need sights and all kinds of other stuff. So I wanted it kind of slim and trim and just business related parts on here. So overall, I think it was outfitted for my purposes. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about is manufacturing everything in-house versus OEM, because somebody brought that up in the original video. So if you don't know, or you couldn't tell by some of the stuff on here, not everything Cox Arms makes in-house. And here's a little secret that some of you may not know. There's not a single company out there making anything like this that makes every part in-house. Even if you account for taking the furniture away, I promise you, not Daniel Defense, not Geisley, nobody else is making every single part of that rifle in-house, whether it could be the springs, the detents. They outsource those parts to somebody else because somebody else has the quality control and the ability to make those things en masse to where it's not overly expensive. So something in this one like that bolt, that is an OEM'd part for Cox. The barrel is made by Ballistic Advantage. Take, for example, Geisley. Love me some Geisley. They got the SOCOM contract for the URGI upper. It's their rail, it's their upper, it's their charging handle, but it's a Daniel Defense barrel in there. So sometimes when somebody already has the part and it's proven and the quality control is high, you just use their part rather than reinvent the wheel. So yes, there are Cox Arms parts on here, upper, lower, other things, but some of the stuff is made outside, OEM'd for them from companies that make parts for everybody else. Take a company like Aero Precision, who's got a very good reputation and is pretty well known for making a lot of other companies' lower receivers. Do some research and you'll find out exactly who. All right, and with that, we are closing out the video on the Cox Arms 13700 right there. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like I said up front, double check you are subscribed. Subscribe if you're not. Give the video a like, leave a comment. All that stuff is a huge help, and make sure you do that for all the other 2A creators out there because things get weird sometimes. Sometimes rules get changed, and it's a lot of time that people put into these videos. Like I said, I had to delete like almost 100 videos, and I had to edit dozens and dozens of others, and it eats up a lot of time. So the more subscribers we have, the more our voices are heard, the more likely it is that we're all going to stick around. So get out on the range, have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.